We will be talking to you today about the history of public education and how it has evolved into what it is today. This presentation is by Nicholas Bradfield, Caitlin Brockhouse, Josie Fairbanks, Bailey Ronning, and Andrew Bruns. In the 1600s, all schools began as religious organizations. These schools focused primarily on Greek and Latin languages. Its development was from Puritan and Congregationalist religious roots. In 1647, it was said that every town of 50 families should have an elementary school and every 100 families should have a Latin school. A diversity of people from various countries and different faiths led to the eventual weakening of the religious school system. Soon, people were refusing to learn solely in English. They opposed how the clergy was forcing their religious views into public education. In the 1700s, Thomas Jefferson proposed the two-track educational system for the laboring and the learned. This would allow very few of the laboring class to advance by raking a few geniuses from the rubbish. In 1790, the Pennsylvania State Constitution calls for free public education for poor children. Also concerned about the education of poor children, the New York Public School Society in 1805 set up schools that had a schoolmaster to teach the older children so that they may teach those who were younger. In the 1830s, most southern states had laws forbidding teaching people in slavery to read. Only 5% of these students were able to become literate, and this success came with great risk. By the middle of the 19th century, private schools became the norm. Until 1840, receiving an education was only for the wealthy. The reason is because many wealthy students received schooling at private schools. Since private schools were not federally funded, parents had to uphold their part and pay a certain amount to enroll their children into a private school. In the 19th century, the classroom expressed the looks of a largely rural, agricultural economy. Rural communities had few resources to expend on education, and there was a lack of commercially available products for schools. Often the school would be open only for a few months of the year. These times were set so education did not disrupt the children's work at home or on the farm. Teaching and learning consisted mainly of literacy, penmanship, arithmetic, and good manners. Recitation, drilling, and quizzes at the end of the day were the ways of testing these students' achievements. The community surrounding the school was what held education together. Farmers would often bring in wood to light the furnace, and parents would take turns bringing desks and offering their homes to the teachers to live in. Children in early American schools had very little homework because they had responsibilities at home or on the farm. All of their academic learning took place during the school day only. As the curriculum began to change, so did the classrooms themselves. Classrooms are now filled with books, maps, and electronic equipment. Telecommunications empowered students to acquire information from around the world directly into their classrooms. A historical event in 1954 was the Supreme Court decision in Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. This stated that segregated schools are inherently unequal and that they must be abolished. The act of segregation was an important case of the time. In 1957, when a federal court declared that public schools in Little Rock, Arkansas must be integrated, the governor of Arkansas sent the state National Guard to prevent it. In response to this defiance, President Eisenhower sent in federal troops to make sure that the court order was enforced. As the 20th century approached, education began to change. Teachers were now being required to have a college degree or other specialized training. As students began to become more diverse, so did the teachers. The old forms of discipline also changed in the 20th century. Today, educators employ a variety of discipline measures, from revoking recess privileges to suspending or expelling the student from school. The amount of homework a student is expected to complete has also changed. Today, homework is considered a vital component of comprehensive education and is expected of most students even in the early grades. It is believed that taking advantage of evening and weekend hours will increase the content and skills children acquire. Today, smartboards and computer monitors line the classroom walls. The classroom has become more diverse and now able to give students the resources that they need to learn about the curriculum, but also the changing world around them. That concludes our presentation on the history of public education. Thank you for your time, and we hope you enjoyed it.